Hey everyone, it's AJ from Pixelize, and I wanted to start a series about WordPress to teach people exactly what WordPress is, how it works, and why you should use and utilize it for your business. So this video is very short, not too technical, not too much information, just the basic, to cover to make you understand what exactly WordPress is, because not a lot of people understand it. They know how they use it a little bit, they kind of got a rough idea, but they don't fully understand what WordPress is. So let me go on the next slide. So WordPress is a open source built CMS software. That means you could take this website and put it on any hosting you want. It's up to you. It's so easy to find hosting provider for WordPress because it's a PHP backend language. Using other CMS platforms like Wix or even Squarespace as an example, you can take the website out and put it on different hosting because it's a cloud-based solution, and we'll go into this a little bit later on. But WordPress is a open source CMS system software, and the reason why it's an open source CMS software is because it gives you full control. Now, what's important to understand about WordPress is a blueprint of a CMS. That means imagine having a house you want to build. You're not going to create a blueprint for every house on the block to build it exactly the same way, right? A blueprint will give you a instruction of how the CMS should be working at the back end. Same as for a blueprint for construction of the house. The size of the house, how it should look like from outside, and what you do inside is up to you. WordPress works in a similar way. It's a blueprint for your CMS that allows you to use it freely without paying any license fee because it's an open source for free. So hopefully that sort of gives you understand that it's a blueprint of a custom management system compared to something like Wix and Squarespace and so on. Now, how does WordPress differ from other CMSs? So as I mentioned, Wix, Squarespace, you got Shopify, Webflow, BigCommerce, etc. They're not open sources, they are SaaS products, which do not run on any server, they run on a cloud-based system. That means you cannot take your website that you built and put on a different server. You have to stick to them. Some CMSs offer the API interaction, but then at that point, I don't see a real point of building a separate backend when you're already using the CMS. It's just cost effective and it's a bit pointless. Why would you want to have a API for Shopify to build the backend and then you just use the dashboard where a developer could build you a dashboard? It just makes no sense at that point. But for most people, it's easy to use, but comes with a lot of limitations. That means when you use cloud-based systems platforms, is basically what you see, what you get. There's nothing more than that. Unless you pay a little bit more, then you might have extra features. WordPress itself, you have a full control. You could do whatever you want, build whatever you want, but also keep in mind about what you're building, because I would say personally, I would advise you use it as an MVP and then build something custom coded for more sky level product. However, if you want to use WordPress, you can. It's just that's my approach, and that's how I would approach any sort of platform. So how does actually WordPress work? So we know it's a blueprint, okay, but what's the blueprint of? So we have a database, backend and front end. We need to know how the database will communicate with the backend and the front end. It's not just adding a font size, color, and then we see this magic works. Everything gets stored in the database. This is your source of information, right? Backend is the middleman, does the validation, authentication, business logic. So it communicates with the database, and then with the front end. The front end is how visually everything looks like, the design, the elements, how the data is displayed, the interaction. So what the backend does, it says, hey database, send me information about the products XYZ so I can put it on the front end. And it sends. And then when the front end sends a email, let's say you want to submit contact form, it tells the backend, hey, can you validate this before sending this to a client? Sure, let me validate, let me make sure there's no malicious code of hacking or anything like this, and boom, it sends them across. So that blueprint, you don't have to build this from scratch. You don't have to build the database from scratch. You don't have to build the backend from scratch, how it talks and interacts with the database, how it validates the code, how it authenticates the users, and everything, and the little things. You don't need to do this because it's a blueprint that you take out and put on a different hosting. Now, WordPress itself is very secure because it comes with consistent updates and improvements. You have a full control again of your hosting, which you could set up two-step authentication. You could set up more measurements for security and also malware scanners and so on. And same with CMS, you could add additional code to validate. It's, the sky is the limit. It's up to you what you do with it because you have a full control. It's user-friendly for the search engines due to being open source. Most websites that are built, they have minimum 90 out of 100 performance score, similar to SEO. Because, again, you have a full control. You're not dependent on a cloud. You have one server where you can fully optimize it. So it's easy to optimize the technical setup and implement new functionalities if you want to. So how does the core WordPress website system works? So obviously we know it's a blueprint. We know it requires the database, the backend, and the front end. But from an abstract view, so if we take the abstract view and we just look at the themes and the plugins, so themes are what a website looks like with minimum interaction, and plugins are additional interaction, let's say booking system that you can add. WordPress recommends to keep them two separate from the themes and plugins. Don't mix them, because you could build this functionality in a theme, but then if you change your website, you're going to lose the functionality of a booking system, and someone else has to book it, and whatever you had stored, the data, whatever it was, the functionality, you're going to lose that. So WordPress recommends to keep that functionality separate, just in case you want to update your website or change it to a different theme, as most of you are non-developers. And this is aimed at non-developers, but if you are a developer, there's going to be different tutorials about that. Also, WordPress allows developers to use programmatic approach. So the database itself uses indexes, not foreign key constraints. If you're a developer, you understand this, what that is. If you're non-developer, don't worry about it. At some point, we're going to cover this more in detail, so you could understand at least how your database works, and you know what to keep secure and what to look out and what you should do or you shouldn't do as a non-developer. So to wrap things up, WordPress is an open source CMS software. It's basically a blueprint that you could reuse as much as you want and make any changes you want. Consistent updates provides high security and performance. You have a full control over your website, not like other CMSs that are cloud-based. Very flexible, scalable, and cost-effective. No coding knowledge needed for beginners. Literally everything is made for you there because it's a blueprint prepared. A developer goes in and adds additional code if needed, or they could build a custom theme from a code, but they will still use the blueprint and they will not change the core of the blueprint, because there are functions and hooks and filters are provided by WordPress, so then you can make adjustments. That's how it works. You don't change the core feature, because when a new update comes out, it will override it and you will lose it. So just to wrap up, use your WordPress because it's open source. You have a full control. It's cost effective. You're not dependent on some provider, because you could take it out and change it to a different one. And most importantly, you have a full control of that. So hopefully you understand better what WordPress is in this short video that just sort of gives you a brief overview, a very low entry level knowledge of it, and slowly we'll build up on this series of WordPress, and then we go into more advanced level once we get there. So whether you're going to be coding or not, still keep an eye on this, because there's a lot of things to cover and to learn. So hopefully you enjoyed it. If you have any questions, put them in the comments. Other than that, I will see you on the next video.